Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show with no name. I'm here with my good friend Draftneck Mark, as always. Welcome back to the show. We're shooting a day later than we usually do.
Yeah, some stuff's come up this week, so we still got the show. I think that's the big thing.
That is the big thing. We're both very busy people, and we got indoor dining this weekend in Hoboken. I'm sure Queens, everything kind of comes back to life here once Labor Day hits, and it's crazy. So. But we have a little bit of a solemn day today, 9/11, obviously. Anyone from this area knows that. Did you grow up in Queens? Like, where are you from originally?
I'm from Westfield, so
Westfield,
it's about New Jersey. So it's a little bit north of like Central Jersey, Union County, pretty close.
Yes. And do you remember 9/11?
So I was only 5 when it happened. I was born 96. Yep. I remember like the day, but I couldn't tell you much out of I remember my mom was really upset.
Of course.
My dad was working in the city. So that was
where in the city at all?
I don't know where.
Okay.
But I remember that was a big thing. And I don't think he came home the first day because I think they shut down all the bridges and everything. Yep. So he was basically just stuck in the city all day. Mm-hmm. So I remember that being a big deal. And I remember the day before, I think I learned how to ride my bike or something like that. We have a home video with the date on it.
Uh-huh.
But cool. I remember more so the stuff afterwards, everything that happened, in the coming weeks as opposed to the actual day. Cause I think my parents probably kind of sheltered me from it a little bit.
I'm sure. And being so young, you never really grasp the magnitude of something like that. I remember when I was in 5th grade, so I was a little bit older than you were. And the rumor around 5th grade, they made a public announcement on the PA system. Mm-hmm. And they said, they asked all the teachers to immediately turn off all monitors.
Oh, wow.
In the classroom. And so obviously the kids are talking, obviously, we know nothing that's going on, but we're, curious, obviously. And the rumor in the 5th grade wing because this is 5th to 8th grade, this middle school. And the rumor in the 5th grade wing was there was a tornado coming.
Interesting.
I don't know how we got to that. It was, I just remember from that point on, kids being called out of school, in the masses, being picked up.
Yeah.
A lot of the people in my school had most of the family worked at least close up to New York City, if not in New York City. So it was crazy. And then my teammate, I had a teammate on my baseball team. His dad was our third base coach, mm-hmm. and he worked in the building. And I don't know if have you ever seen the documentary on Netflix about Kenneth Fitzgerald?
I have not.
Okay, so Kenneth Fitzgerald, just for people that haven't watched it before, Kenneth Fitzgerald is a business. It was up on the 111th floor, I believe, of one of the World Trade Centers. And it was one of the few companies, if not the only company that I'm aware of, that lost every single one of its employees.
Wow.
And the only employee to survive was the CEO, who happened to be taking his son to his first day of kindergarten that day. That's why he missed it.
Wow.
So imagine the guilt that guy has. That's tough.
You even just saying that, I got goosebumps. That's crazy.
That's tough. And he's gone on to do really cool things for the families of the people that have fallen. And then one of them happened to be my baseball coach. Mm-hmm. It was, I remember crazy. I remember I came back from school and immediately my mom took me to my buddy's house. And I understood what was happening a little bit once I had found it out, but you still don't really understand. Well, he's probably just going to come home tomorrow, later or something.
Yeah.
And then days go by and he never comes home. I think they ended up, he never was found. I think they ended up burying his tackle box and his fishing rod.
Yeah.
Tough times.
Definitely.
It was a crazy time. And it's something that, I'm sure our grandkids will ask about, which is another thing that always trips me out to think about. I'm going to have people that don't exist right now asking about that time.
Well, even I think to this year's 2020. So high school seniors would be born in 2004. It's in the history books now because there's legitimately kids in high school. And I think maybe there are even some kids in college right now that weren't alive for it. And that's just crazy to think about. Yeah.
That's insane. Because if you were born in 2000 or later that year in 2001, you'd be 19 or closing in on 20. You'd be just turning 19.
Yeah, and even like if you're 18, like as a freshman this year, like you're born 2002, probably. Like it's nuts.
Jeez, that is crazy. God, I'm getting old. We're both getting old. There's got college kids that weren't alive for this. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But obviously, this particular moment in time was kind of big in the baseball world.
Yeah, definitely.
He had two. I'm pretty sure the Mets were pretty good that year with Mike Piazza. I don't know if they had a great year or not.
I don't think they ended up making the playoffs, but I think it was, I mean, you're coming off the World Series, you're in 2000, so there was definitely still a good enough team on the field.
Yes, and he obviously had Mike Piazza, who's one of the biggest, at least in my generation, the biggest Met of all time.
Oh yeah, I mean we're wearing the Piazza jersey right
now. Of course,
now.
Love that. And then you got George Bush throwing out the George W. Bush Jr. I guess is it junior? They call him a junior.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I'm sure he's a junior. But he threw out the first pitch at the World Series that year with the Yankees Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Which coincidentally, I found out this morning. I was watching the video of it, and I was watching like when he goes and he takes a picture with the two managers, Joe Torre, and I forget the guy's first name, but I think Bob Brenly.
Yeah, I think so.
And I had no clue, but his son was my bullpen catcher in Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I texted him this morning, and I'm just like, hey, was that your dad that was there? And I was like, I've seen that video 1,000 times, never put the pieces together. But that was pretty cool. But it was, pretty big moments. But that Met moment in particular was huge.
That's like always the one that I go to, obviously, like as a Mets fan. And like that's one where like I watch it and I remember watching it. Like I'm pretty sure my dad made a big point for me to like watch that game and everything. And Mike Piazza was always just like super clutch, always stepped up in a big moment. And I don't think there could have been probably really like a bigger moment for a game that really didn't matter. But like it just was a big moment with everything that going on to hit that homer. I watch that every year when it's 9/11, and it's just you get goosebumps, whether you're a Mets fan, Braves fan, Yankees fan. It's just you watch and you're like, this is crazy. Like the way it happened, and it was such a big moment, bigger than baseball.
Oh, I mean, bigger than almost anything ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about that moment I've watched obviously a few documentaries on it. And I think from what I can remember, I think it was the first sports game in New York or possibly in the country. Because I think they canceled everything up until that point. So it was the first sporting event in the country after 9/11. It's in Queens. Mm-hmm. I think from what I remember, also they invited a ton of first responders, families, and people that had passed in the crash, whatever, to the game. And then you got that kind of a moment with Piazza, like the face of New York, at least in Queens, one of the faces of New York in baseball, hitting a home run as clutch as that was against a division rival in the Braves. I mean, I don't know if you can get a bigger moment than that moment in and of itself. If you ask Mike Piazza, I gotta imagine that might be the biggest moment of his career.
Yeah, I would think that like you don't want to call it like a favorite moment because of course like with all the stuff around it, like it's such a bad way to make your favorite moment. But I think that's probably gotta be the one that sticks in his mind the most, or at least the home run that he remembers the most. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he like blacked out from it because it was almost too big where it's like he hit it and like I was just back in the dugout. I don't even know what happened. Like,
yeah, I mean, I could easily see that. I could easily see doing it and just like going by in a blur and being on such a high. Because I'm not sure if I've ever heard a crowd in baseball that loud.
Yeah, that roar is different. And like, you watch like big home runs in the World Series and you get the roar, but this one was like a release. It was like
emotion behind it.
Thank you. Like,
it was. I still think about sometimes when you watch that pitcher and his reaction. Obviously, he was a little upset giving up the home run. I mean, it's a Braves team that was pretty good from what I remember. But you have, I always think about, what if I was the pitcher in that situation?
Yeah.
And I sit down, it'd be tough for me not to smile and be happy for what was happening, especially as a Jersey guy.
Yeah.
It'd be tough for me not to smile and be like, that's such a cool moment to be a part of because you're giving life to a city that is so beaten down at the time.
Yeah, New York definitely needed that, and I think that was, as weird as it sounds, like a big thing that helped people almost like cope with what was going on. You forgot for a little bit, of all the terrible stuff that was happening.
No, definitely, and especially in today's climate with how polarizing it is now, and people are very separated. I mean, you heard last night. Did you watch the football game?
Yeah.
So you heard last night. Some of the Chiefs fans booing the guys that had that moment of silence, or I think it was a
moment of unity. I think
moment of unity. There we go. Yeah, that you had people booing there. So you have a very polarizing time right now, it's almost a great, not to say not great timing, but it's nice to have this part where people are starting. You see this on Twitter a lot, or actually a lot today, of people talking about how on September 12th there was no different parties; it was
Correct.
everyone together.
Yep.
And I think that is something that obviously as a country we all need to try to get back to, because this this can't sustain. It's not sustainable what we're doing right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I saw just so many videos of people being like you said, like there was no political parties, there was no right or wrong. It was just like, hey, we got to get together, we got to like beat this together, we got to be strong, all this kind of stuff, and we could definitely use that right now. I mean,
no doubt about it. Do you remember? Now, my next question: do you remember? Because now this is when you were older, when they killed Osama bin Laden.
Yes, that was a Mets Phillies game on ESPN because I was watching, of course, as a Mets fan. And I remember they started chanting USA, USA. And I feel like this is right around when Twitter kind of just started.
Yep.
And I didn't really have one yet, so it wasn't like I was checking that. But I think I was on Facebook. And I saw on Facebook people were posting, like, they got Osama, they got Osama. And I remember being like, whoa, this is another just crazy moment of, like, where were you when this happened?
So I remember it was my sophomore year in college. And I was in the dorms, at Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. And I'm sitting there and we're talking with one of my teammates, and we're sitting there being like, dude, are you seeing this? And we start obviously screaming that we just killed Osama bin Laden, arguably the most hated man in U.S. history.
Yeah.
And I remember people opened up the windows in the dorms and just started chanting USA outside the thing. And it was such a cool moment. Another crazy moment, and another crazy moment for the country, and another one that is kind of, enshrined in baseball history, because baseball was such a big part of it again with that Mets Phillies game, of people starting to chant USA. If you see the guy with the USA jersey just happens to be wearing it that day, like he doesn't know that Black Ops, going in to kill this guy. Like it was, again, just such a cool moment. And again, the Mets seem to be around cool moments.
Yeah, no, and like I think the other thing too is like same thing with like you kind of forgot what like was going on. It didn't matter like what side you're on. Mets Phillies, tough rivalry. The Philly fans, Mets fans hate each other, and you see people like hugging and like, oh my god, like jumping up and down. Phillies I think they were getting smacked that day, and it was like no one cared anymore. Mets, I think David Wright even talked about it. Like he found out at one point, and you were kind of like, yeah, kind of really care what goes on in the game anymore. Like it was again another moment bigger than sports.
Oh yeah. And that's when I love seeing that surrounding baseball. Not to be selfish about my own sport, or our own sport. It's nice to see that with baseball though, because baseball's had a lot of public backlash over this. This time where in the past couple of years, everyone's talking about, it's too slow of a game. Yeah. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Oh, no pimping home runs. Yes, we want pimping home runs. Yeah, throwing at people. No, yeah, we do want throwing at people. Like, there's been so much of that going on in the game of baseball. It's good to see. A time where baseball was just at its pure form, and people, just loved it for what it was, and it was helping a country heal from one of the biggest, disasters, or obviously we had terrorists. I mean, one of the biggest catastrophes in the country's history. The baseball was such an integral part to keep helping the country heal at that time. I love seeing that. This is such a great time to see this stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, and even you go like to Chicago, where it was like Sammy Sosa, a dude like who's not an American. He was from the DR, I believe, Dominican Republic, and he was running around with the flag out in the outfield. He hit the home run, had the flag. Like even like small things like that, I think people really appreciated, especially coming from a guy who's not from this country, who's not technically an American in that sense. Like people were really stepping up and thinking about the bigger picture, which was nice.
That was I completely forgot about that. It was an unbelievable moment. I've seen it about 15 times this morning.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I want to run through a brick wall seeing that.
Oh, like, and he just hit the home run, like that is. Yeah. Oh man,
he just goes in full sprint out to the outfield. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. Like that's great. That's such a good
run through a wall, and that's like it's so different at times that you can really truly see two teams that are completely together. They're playing against each other, but they're completely together. Even in today's world, we have some polarizing stuff. We have the moment of unity. You have people on those lines probably that are at least indifferent about what's happening, or, it doesn't affect them, so they're okay with it, or whatever the case may be. At this time, no matter who you were, everyone was absolutely unequivocally together.
Yep.
And it people from different countries, people, from different backgrounds, ethnicities, all of that. Everyone was together. And I think like you said, I think we could all learn a lesson a little bit from this time, no matter what side of the aisle you're on and whatever you agree with. I think we could all learn some lessons from that time and then try to find some common ground and get to a better resolution than what we have right now. Not to get into politics.
Yeah, no.
But another great time. Now let's dive into a little bit of baseball here. I want to take up most of the time here today talking 9/11 and baseball because it's such a cool time and it helped me when I was a kid watching baseball. And I saw some things on TikTok today, and maybe I'm just getting old, but I saw some things on TikTok today with some kids. I wouldn't say mocking 9/11, but like they have some insensitive videos.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So, and I can't blame them. They weren't alive for it. It didn't affect them in any capacity. I understand they're not anywhere near the level me and you'd be on, or the generation above us is on as far as how they feel about it. So I get it. But it's good. I know you have a pretty good young fan base as well.
Yep.
So it's good just to kind of educate and talk about it and how meaningful it was at the time. You even saw Mike Pence and Joe Biden today. They had a good little friendly talk at the 9/11 memorial, which is good. It's good to see those things. We're human. We're not. This isn't it doesn't just have to be everyone hates each other all the time.
Correct. You can disagree on things, but still agree at the end of the day.
Exactly. So now we'll talk about. I'm done with that. I'm sorry. We'll talk about baseball. Yankees suck.
Yes, they do. It's great.
It's phenomenal.
It's awesome.
Boston's brutal, and I couldn't care less.
It's tank season. Tank for Kumar or Leiter.
Dude, it's fantastic.
Where do you stand on that? Who do you want, Kumar or Leiter?
The thing about baseball is it's so different as far as we're not getting a stud running back who's playing next year. I don't get Saquon Barkley. No. I'm getting a guy who's going to go through the system. I'm not going to see him for 3 years, 4 years. If he's an absolute stud like the Bryce Harpers of the world, which I don't know that we're necessarily thinking that at this point.
Yeah, but I think both of them are going to be a little bit in the minors.
Yeah, they're good players.
Yeah.
But we're not looking at Mike. Oh, yes, Mike Trout. No, we're looking at Mike Trout like Mike Trout. So, but it's so different. I'm I could have either. Yeah, it's a good position to be in, no matter what. For Boston, as long as we get one of them, and we'll be able to develop them through the league. It's rare that the Boston Red Sox get the first overall pick.
Yeah, it's not. I wonder how many times that's actually happened in their history.
It hasn't. I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah,
but they're well on their way. I mean, last night when they were winning, I don't know if they ended up winning last night.
They won last night. Yeah, unfortunately for you guys.
Jared was very upset. Jared Carrabis was very upset. I saw his Twitter. Could not for the life of him understand how they were winning games when they finally didn't want to win them anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, Yankees suck.
Yes, they do.
I
mean, their injury is definitely a huge part of it.
Yeah, but wham.
Yeah, but when everybody gets hurt,
everyone gets hurt. Everyone has to deal with this shit. And if you're going to be a World Series contender, you better have some depth to you. To be able to withstand this.
I mean, you can look back at the Dodgers, even the last 2018, 2017, they had a ton of injuries those years, and they made it to the World Series. The good teams rise to the top if you're really going to be the best.
I mean, just like
the injuries,
just like we talked about Tampa I think it was the last video. We talked about how they've had a ton of injuries themselves, and it's always the next guy stepping up, and that's why they're the cream of the crop in the AL right now. And the Yankees I don't think they're I think the second wild card or the first wild card.
I think they're eighth right now in the American League. So they are, I think, a game up on the Orioles or a game and a half up on the Orioles. And they maybe have 2.5 on the Tigers and 2.5 on the Mariners, something like that.
Game and a half on Detroit. And the Mariners, they have 2.5 on the Mariners.
Okay, so there's 3 teams legitimately in striking distance to take that spot from the Yankees. Do I think it happens? Absolutely not. I still am going to pick the Yankees over those 3 teams no matter what. But would it be just the icing on the cake to 2020 if the Yankees somehow missed the playoffs? Wow.
That would be absolutely the icing on the cake if they miss the playoffs. Again, I'm with you. I don't see that happening. But I also, I think our second video or third video, I was talking about how great this Yankee team was and how fun it was to watch. I think Boston was going to go play them at the time. And I'm sitting there we're going to get crushed. And we did. Yeah. And it was the last time the Yankees was crushing people was that buzzsaw of a weekend they went off on Boston. And ever since then, they have struggled indefinitely, it looks like. And I don't know if they keep going the way, they have a 1-game winning streak, which doesn't count as a streak.
No, yeah.
But they're 3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah, and they've They've got a big series too. I think they got a doubleheader against the Orioles maybe today or something along those lines.
I don't know who
that. I mean, like that's huge. This could make a big difference this year. It's a lot of really, really good baseball coming up for sure.
I mean, yeah, tons of great baseball. And let's talk. I have to talk about this. You know where we're going here. It's the Dodgers run differential.
What are we at now?
I'm actually disappointed because I tweeted at you earlier in the week that they were at 99.
Yeah.
And I was pumped. We're going to have this video this week. It's finally, they're going to hit triple digits.
Yep.
And I guess they lost a game or so, and they're at 98 now.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I'm a little upset about that. I wanted them to be at triple digits.
Get better, Los Angeles.
Seriously, what are you doing over there?
Can't hit triple digits? What are you doing?
What's insane is, let me see here. I am correct. The team in second place in run differential, and by a good margin, is the San Diego Padres. 70.
Yeah, no, that's I think like the team that everyone I feel like is rooting for if your team's out of it, because they're just so much fun to watch.
They are a lot of fun.
And they're playing the heck out of baseball right now. They're
unbelievable.
Every time the Mets game's over, I go right to the Padres next. I'm like, yeah, let's go watch the Padres because then you know you're going to get good baseball.
Seriously, and honestly, they arguably have played better than the Dodgers in the last 10 games. They're a really good team right now.
Yeah, and I think they're only probably getting stronger too with, Clevenger being added and the bullpen starting to get it under control. And you're getting, they added Nola, they added all these guys around the field. They're scary, man.
They're scary. If I'm the Dodgers, I'm not. They're 3.5 games up on the Padres, but I'm still not super thrilled about the way the Dodgers or the Padres are playing right now.
Yeah, I want to see if the Dodgers and Padres have any games left against each other going down the stretch, because if they do,
I mean, you gotta imagine they do. They're in the same division.
Let's see here. They've got 3 games left against the Padres.
Oh.
Their Dodger schedule though is kind of easy though going down the stretch. They've got 3 against the Padres, 3 against the Padres, 3 against the A's, and then they have the Rockies, Astros, and Angels, which they should all take care of.
Rockies, Astros, Angels, yeah, they should take care of all of those teams. I mean, Houston's not a pushover, but they're still not great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's impressive to watch this Padre team come alive here. And honestly, they're by far the 2 best teams in the National League.
Yeah, and I think you could even make the argument, that they might be the 2 best teams in baseball.
You could definitely make the argument.
I think you can definitely make that.
I mean, they are, by record alone, they are the 2 best teams in baseball.
Yeah.
They're only a game up or half game up on Tampa. But let's give you an opportunity. Again, I give you an opportunity every week. Are you taking your pick back of the Mets World Series champions? Are you taking that back yet?
I'm getting really close.
You should be.
I'm getting really close because, here's the problem, and here's what they do to me. Now the offense is hitting. So I'm like, it's finally starting to come together. But then 3 out of the 5 days a week, we get a horrible pitching performance by our starting pitchers, puts us in a hole, and then the bullpen doesn't help us out when the offense picks us up. So, when DeGrom and Lugo go out there, I'm confident we're getting a win. I'm not worried about that at all. It's the days with Porcello, Waka, Peterson, and whoever else decides that they're going to pitch. That's where I go, we have a very, very hard chance. The schedule down the road's not crazy great. I mean, we got some games against the Blue Jays. We got some games, I think, against, the Phillies maybe left a little bit. It's tough. I'm not going to change. But I am probably about a week away, 1 episode away from changing.
Okay, so next week.
Next week, check on me next week, and there's a very good chance that the answer is going to be changed, probably because the Mets might be eliminated from playoff contention at that point.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that, yes. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about, a little trivia. I've been a big run differential guy here, and I'm going to ask you a little bit of trivia. There is one team currently in Major League Baseball that has a run differential of 0.
Okay.
They've scored just as many runs as they've given up. Now, which team is that?
Well, it was the Mets until they played the Orioles, so it's not them. I'm thinking it could be the Giants. I'm thinking it could be the Blue Jays. And I'm thinking it could maybe be the Astros. I'm gonna go with the Giants.
The Giants. That was the best guess you had. The 3. Those were the best. They had a run differential of 5, plus 5, obviously. But the Blue Jays have a plus 20, and the Astros have a plus 10.
Okay.
So the correct answer is the team that the Mets had just played to give up their run differential of 0, which is the Baltimore Orioles. They have the only team in baseball that has a 0 run differential going into tonight.
Yeah, the Orioles are also another fun team to watch. Now, they don't have the names like the Padres do, and their young players are a little less exciting, but having watched them play against the Mets, they're kind of in that same pool right now as like the Marlins, where they're going out there, they're playing baseball the right way, they're playing hard, a lot of like, what do we got to lose kind of attitude from what it seems like. You're not getting the big names out there, but I think that's a team that's fun to root for, fun to watch. And I'm glad to at least see, I know it's only 45 games and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day for 2021, but I'm glad to see that the Orioles aren't just going out there and getting smacked every single game, like that they're fighting and they're almost a playoff team.
Listen, yeah, they're a much better team than I thought they'd be. At the very least, going into the year, I thought the Red Sox would be able to beat that team. Yeah. I was incorrect. So now the Red Sox team is the one that everyone likes to beat up on. But the Orioles, it's a fun team to watch because, again, there's nothing to lose. It's a young team. It's a team that's just going to go out there and play the best they can. It's kind of like a less talented Padres team. The Padres got a little bit more experience on their team with Hosmer and Machado and all them, but you still have a young group of guys that are going out there having fun. And it's no Max Scherzers or Clayton Kershaws. You don't have any of those guys, but you have some good guys out there throwing the baseball. It's a fun team to watch. Also, you got those Chicago White Sox, another young core team that is fun to watch play.
I love that team a lot. They're so much fun. I mean, like they've got the excitement with like Tim Anderson, obviously, and Luis Robert, who's just, I can't stop watching that guy play baseball. He's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
But like their pitching stepping, I mean, everybody on the White Sox playing well. When I went and saw them in spring training, I think I made a tweet saying like, I love the atmosphere in that clubhouse. Like everything there just felt good. This is a team to watch out for in 2020. And I ended up putting them in the playoffs in my predictions, which, I'm happy about that one little pat on the shoulder there. But I think you could probably attest to it too, like team chemistry and like actually genuinely liking the guys that you're playing with and getting along, like that can go a long way. And I think that's something that the White Sox definitely have going for them.
Oh, it can go. It's so huge when trying to take, this is a 60-game season, so it's a lot shorter. But there's a lot of ups and downs in baseball, and in a 60-game season, and a 2-game skid feels like a 30-game skid.
Yeah.
So having that team camaraderie, that team chemistry, where you show up the next day just as excited to play, just excited to get going, because you love to see your guys, your teammates, and fight with them. It's huge in trying to win these games. Chicago is showing that. Minnesota had a stronghold on this division, and now they're in second place, a game back. So it's a fun team to watch. I think that Central, I can't believe Detroit's even in the conversation. They're not to win the division, but they're in the conversation to make the playoffs. That Central is a really fun division to kind of watch play, especially with Chicago in there and Minnesota. Those two teams, I could watch those guys play all the time.
So then I got a question for you. So out of like the 4 teams that I guess we expected to be bad and are competing for a playoff spot, we've got the Marlins, we've got the Orioles, we've got the Tigers, and we've got the Giants. Which of those 4 do you think is most likely to make the playoffs?
Ooh, that is a tough question. Man, jeez. I'm gonna have to go. Honestly, I'm gonna say the Giants. I'm shocked that they're again. I'm probably maybe the Marlins. I'm more shocked about. But they're definitely up there. I didn't think they'd be good at all this year.
No, a big thing for me is like I rip on the Giants. Yeah. And I like this year, of course, they're playing well. So like that's, coming back to haunt me a little bit. But you look at that team and you just go like, how?
They're winning. They're finding ways to win ball games, and that's all it's about. But the San Francisco team, listen, they got the most wins out of any of the 4 teams. Every other team is stuck at 20 wins, actually, and surprisingly, they all have 20 wins besides San Francisco. They got 23. I know nothing about the late schedule and what these teams are looking at going forward, so that's a completely blind spot for me. But again, San Francisco is just proven to be able to win ball games time and time again. I think Miami is still inflated a little bit from their hiatus, so I don't think they really have a realistic chance. Detroit, they got a minus 40 run differential.
Detroit's. I think we can all agree the least likely to make the playoffs.
Least likely. So the San Francisco Giants are the only ones with the positive run differential, which is my number one stat of 2020 right now. And I know nothing about their schedules going forward, so I'm gonna go with San Francisco. Who would you choose?
I think I'm going with the Marlins.
Really?
I'm liking they got like little major league, the movie vibe of just like a bunch of ragtag guys thrown together. And they got some of their veterans and some of the names that, I love the addition of Starling Marte. I thought that was such a good trade. They needed that. Like that was get your everyday center fielder who's going to go out there and just play great defense. I thought that was a really good move. They've got a huge 7-game series with the Phillies this weekend, which is a crazy statement that I could even make. They played well last night. They got like that magic feel this year. I think that the Marlins are going to be the team out of those 4 that make the playoffs.
Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, there's a chance none of them make the playoffs, but
there's also that chance too.
Chance. It's probably better than the chances that we're talking about right now. But yeah, man, it should be a fun. How many games do we have left in the season right now?
I think the Mets, at least, they're at 44 games, so we're talking 16. So you're probably in that 15 to 20 range, depending on how many games you got rained out or for coronavirus.
So 15 to 20 games. It's about 3 weeks of baseball left, a little bit less.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun 3 weeks to see who can pull out here. Because, I mean, again, we talked about teams we just talked about 4 teams right now that have chances at playoff contention. And we thought they would be in the doldrums of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun no matter what. And then we got, hopefully, the most fun thing for me and you will be rooting against the Yankees. Hopefully
of course.
I mean, nothing would please me more than the Orioles to jump them and them to not make the playoffs. That would make my life.
2020. That make for some great content.
We'll do an hour show for just that one alone. But listen, it should be fun, man. I hope you enjoy your weekend. And I hope we gave some education a little bit to some of the younger people that weren't around for 9/11 and didn't get to see, albeit we would all prefer not to have seen those cool moments, but it still, it was helping us heal through a really tough time in the country. And your Mets were at the center of it both times. So
yeah.
Anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in as always. Go follow my guy, Giraffe Neck Mark, everywhere. That's not a real phrase, but I just made it up. Go follow my guy. Follow me everywhere. I hope you guys keep tuning in. I know we're a day late on this one. But, life happens, guys. So until next time, we will see you guys later.